Hello, everyone, and welcome back to SALT Talks. My name is John Darcy. I'm the managing director of SALT, which is a global thought leadership forum and networking platform at the intersection of finance, technology, and public policy. SALT Talks are a digital interview series with leading investors, creators, and thinkers. And our goal on SALT Talks is really the same goal we have at our SALT conferences, which is to provide a window into the mind of subject matter experts, as well as provide a platform for what we think are big ideas that are shaping the future. And we're very excited today to welcome you to a different type of SALT Talk than anything we've done so far, with two of the leading social media influencers, particularly on TikTok. And those are Josh Richards and Griffin Johnson. And I'll read you a little bit of background about each of these young men right now. Talent X is Vice President of Talent. Josh Richards is a business-orientated, talented, charming personality who has swooned his mass of followers. I'm going to blame Michael Gruen for writing up this bio here, Josh. But as a member of the staff, Josh collaborates with all the best personalities in the game, continually growing his highly engaged audience. Josh has spoken on several panels, including the Consumer Electronics Show, about climate change, and wants to use his platform to keep entertaining, educating, and inspiring his audience. Griffin Johnson started his social media career while in nursing school, going viral for his TikToks in scrubs. After moving to LA into the Sway House, Griffin has grown his following by collaborating with some of the top TikTokers and other digital media creators and influencers. On top of that, Griffin's YouTube activity and following has been rising at an exponential rate. Griffin's passion for acting and modeling has also led him to pursue his many talents outside of social media. Griffin's known as the most down-to-earth and relatable Sway member by his legion of fans. And hosting today's SALT Talk is somebody who knows absolutely nothing about TikTok, but hopefully can learn something today, and maybe we can get Anthony on TikTok, and you guys can help him get a few followers. As Anthony Scaramucci, the founder and managing partner of Skybridge Capital, a global alternative investment firm. Anthony's also the chairman of SALT. And with that, I'm going to throw Anthony into the ring here for the interview.
All right, first off, Darcy, do you know anything about TikTok?
You know, to be honest with you, I feel like really old talking to these guys as well, because I don't really know that much about TikTok either.
Right, so I see that. I mean, Griffin, I just called him out on that. I don't know anything about TikTok because I'm 457 years old.
I recently got
closer to your age. Does he know anything about TikTok? He knows Ugats about TikTok. Okay, Ugats. I'll let you look up what Ugats means. Okay, so let's go to you first, Griffin, before I get into the more technical questions. Why are you the most down to earth? And Josh, are you not down to earth? I mean, what's going on here? Answer why you're down to earth, and Josh, you tell me why you're not down to earth. Okay.
All right. I would start off by saying, Sway.
By the way, if I'm impressed with the two of you guys when this is over, I'm going to make my haircut look like the two of your haircuts. Okay.
All right. Perfect.
All right. Deal.
It's going to look like a Swifter married a mop and gave birth to your haircut. Okay. Go ahead, Griffin. Let me hear.
I would say for the most part, our entire group is pretty down to earth, but I think that just me being relatable, I'm still in college. I'm a senior this year. I got one semester left. And just having that aspect and then on top of that, I'm from small town.
So where are you going to college?
Indiana State.
Okay.
And
so you're doing that remotely because of COVID? So you're in LA and you're doing that remotely because of COVID? Yeah,
I'm doing that all remote. And, so I feel like that's one big aspect of it. And then another thing is just my roots, small town. It's called Paris, Illinois. I think like 6,000 people. So just having that background is on top of my schooling still. And I would say just as a whole, I'm pretty goofy and keep my content, pretty unfiltered and unedited. So I would say
so you're a down to earth, small town Midwestern kid that's living in a Sway house. You have to tell me what the hell a Sway house is in a second, but living in a Sway house in LA. And what about you, Josh? Are you down to earth? Are you floating in the sky? What's your deal?
I guess from what Michael wrote, guess I'm not a down to earth guy. I guess he decided for me. No, I feel like I would say that I'm down to earth. It's kind of weird to say that about yourself, but I had the same story as Griff, just from a different place. Like I'm from a small town. it's like a 10,000 person town outside of Canada. So Canadians usually are pretty nice people, I'd say. But
what town are you from in Canada? What town are you from?
Outside Toronto, it's the small town called Cobourg.
Okay. And so, now listen, I love Canadians. I think sometimes I thought during the Trump campaign, I thought maybe I was moving to Canada. Maybe you were going to write my visa recommendation. So let me ask you both this, okay? Because it's interesting. I think it's a learning lesson for everybody that listens to these Salt Talks. You're from small towns, but you're making a very big dent in the universe, both of you. Congratulations to both of you on everything that you're doing.
Thank you.
And so if you were talking to kids of your peer group, in your age group, but even older people, there's something that the two of you guys are doing that is transforming. It's a breakthrough thing that you're both doing. Let's start with Josh. What is it that compelled you to do what you're doing? And first thing I'll ask you, are you living your dreams, Josh? Yes or no?
Oh, 100% yes.
Okay, so what compels you on the arc that you're on right now?
Yeah, I mean, it all started back when I was like 14 years old. My sister put me in a video on social media. It did really well on her account. I saw the engagement, I saw the comments, and I was like, this is interesting. Let me make an account of my own. And I was always a kid that was business minded. Everything that I did that I enjoyed, I turned it into a business. If it was me playing hockey, I made a hockey shirt company. If it was when I played lacrosse, I made a lacrosse company where I was stringing sticks and selling mesh. So when I first hopped on social media, I instantly tried to like growth hack it. I had my sister doing follows and unfollows. I had her going direct to the consumer, to the like top spending users on the app. So she was like getting in contact with all of them. They would come to my streams. And I was always just wanting to turn social media into a business or into a company. And then that's now what I've been able to do over the last 4 years.
Okay. Griff, go ahead. Griffin, tell me and first of all, congratulations, Josh. So go ahead, Griffin. What was your breakthrough moment? What was your revelation? How'd you end up in the Sway House?
I kind of have a similar thing. Being in nursing school, there was some people in my classes that had taken videos of me in my scrubs, and they were doing well. I was an anti-social media guy. I think I only had an Instagram 3 years ago. So I was gaining followers on there like 1,000 a week, and I was confused how. Figured out it was from TikTok, and then I saw a girl in my class going live and making money from donations. So at that point, I was hooked. And then once I started, I got a lot of negative feedback from the people at my school. And I've always just been a guy that likes to prove people wrong. And once they started giving me, a bunch of shit, I had to keep going. So that was like my first driving factor. And then as I was going,
just so you know, the shit never stops. Okay, just so you know, okay?
Never.
Because the more successful you are, the bigger the avalanche of shit. You know that, right?
Yeah, always.
And the truth of the matter is, you can't give a shit. Okay, but let's keep going.
Yeah, and then I like that, an avalanche of shit. Yeah. So once I got deeper into it, and besides the money, I've always just had a really strong passion for helping and educating. That's why I was going to nursing to help people. And I saw how many people I could touch and affect at a single moment. And I didn't have a clear image of where I wanted to go, but I knew that there was something powerful. So I just kept doing it.
All right. So I mean, this is fantastic stuff. Over the weekend, you guys banged me up for $5,000. Okay. So I want you to tell the Salt viewers what happened, what you did, how successful it was, because you talked about helping people, and, you two guys have a prolific career going, but you are also helping people. So go ahead. Tell me what happened.
Yeah. So over this past weekend, I'm involved a lot with Barstool. I have a podcast with them, so I work closely with them, and they are doing a fund right now where it is a COVID-19 small business relief fund. Our goal, Griffin and I,
who are they giving the money to, Josh? It's a small business. It's a small business.
Yeah, it's a small business.
Who are they giving the money to?
So they're giving the money to small businesses, the owners in like New York. I've seen it in Texas, just big cities where the government isn't stepping in to help out or be able to give money to these small business owners. So he's helping out all these families. And our goal this past weekend was to raise, I believe it was 100K is what we set out to do.
100K,
right,
yeah. 100K.
We wanted to see if we could, raise 100K in 48 hours. So we went on Twitter, and with our mass following, we just started hitting up people we knew, people we were connected to, or Michael helped us, like with you, and just started challenging.
It was a fabulously guilting thing that you did.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sitting there, I'm relaxing on my sofa. All of a sudden, this like obsequious, overly flattering thing comes at me at Twitter and tells me how great I am. And then I had to read the fine print and said, you better give $5,000, otherwise you're going to embarrass yourself. So of course I gave the $5,000. But in all seriousness, it's a phenomenal cause. And I appreciate greatly the two of you getting behind it. So Griffin, what happened in the ensuing time? Did you just use Twitter? Did you use Instagram? Did you use your other platforms, or you just use Twitter to make this happen?
We primarily use Twitter and obviously texted as well to people we knew, but Twitter's the best because I feel like it's first off the most business oriented platform. And second off, the verified mentions help because notifications, you can just filter if you're verified, other verified creators or people on there that mention you. So that made it easier. Second off, the reason why we kind of did that is we like to use our presence and eyeballs to, put people on a platform. And it's not about the pressure. It's more about for fun, but it does put pressure on people. They're like, oh shit, thousands and thousands of people are seeing this.
Come on. I was just teasing. I couldn't be happier to give the money.
Yeah.
I think that the point being is that what I'm trying to explain to Salt Talk listeners is that you guys have a creative genius about you. Congratulations. And you're putting it to use for a force of good. And so that $200,000 is now going to go to people that are suffering during a time of COVID where they can't get their businesses open, or they've lost traffic and volume as a result of those businesses. And you got to feel pretty good about that, right? So what did you end up raising? 200?
I think a little over 200 now.
All right. Well, let me go to you for a second, Josh. How do you maintain and drive new fan engagement?
Yeah, so that's actually something that me and Griff talk about a lot, especially lately. It's always just staying either ahead of a trend or knowing how to pivot. So for me personally, I pivoted my career a lot or changed my image so that it stays fresh in people's head. I'm like growing up along with them. So for example, when I was younger, 14, 15, 16, I was posting content that was a lot more child friendly because people were following me that was the same age as me and younger. And then when I hit 17, I went on tour with Griffin. We started posting a little bit more of the edgy content, more posting really who we are. And then this past 6 months, 8 months, it was another transition almost into a showing more depth, right? Like showing more depth of who I am. There's the business side. There's me going and doing a podcast with Barstool. There's the TikTok, there's the YouTube. It's not just one social media platform now. It's like now you really get to see who Josh is on a person aspect than just a social media influencer. So it's just always pivoting and keeping things interesting.
All right. So Griffin, the New York City mayoral candidate, Andrew Yang, he's a personal friend of mine. I've done his podcast. He recently said that we need to attract artist collectives like TikTok houses in New York City to reinvigorate the economy. What do you think of that? You like that idea?
I think it's interesting, and we've been speaking about, moving to Miami, and the mayor is, ecstatic. And he actually responded to a tweet that was put out a couple weeks ago now. When I lost a bag in an Uber, the founder of YouTube, Chad Hurley, tweeted out and said, hey, like maybe if you help them get this bag back from the Uber, they'll move. So I think that's interesting that he said that, because he's not the first. It's becoming a trend as people see how much traction that these houses are bringing, especially in the Gen Z. It's just, I think that there is a power behind it. I think that you have to find the right people to harness the power, because there's been a lot of houses, but not very many that are successful just due to character or lack of work ethic. And I think there is value there. You just have to be very strategic with who's in the house, and there's a lot of variables that go into it.
I'm going to jump in for a second as the millennial on the Salt Talks podcast, but not someone who's very familiar with TikTok. I want to ask this question on behalf of people my age and older, perhaps. But what's the unique appeal of TikTok for younger people relative to other social networks? Is it just the fact that it's new? Requires a shorter attention span than some of the other outlets, and there'll be another TikTok that comes after it that'll be the new hot app for young people. And what separates, and we'll start with Josh on this one, what separates you guys and the success you've been able to build relative to every other person in the world who wants to be a social media influencer? How'd you do it?
Yeah, so for me, I guess what I went about that was differently than most people on social media was I was analytically studying the algorithm. Like every single day I was writing down notes of like this many comments and this many likes and this many shares is what's needed for a video to go viral. So how do I maintain those likes, comment, and shares? Or how do I engage my fans to comment more? So originally, when I found out the algorithm on TikTok was mainly shares and comments, that's what boosted your videos. That's what got your videos going viral. I started thinking to myself, all right, now the problem I need to solve is what is the video that's going to get the most comment and shares? And what came to my mind was tutorial videos, right? If you're doing a video and you're teaching someone something, one, they're going to comment about it because they're either going to ask for more questions about like how to do it. They're going to say, thanks for showing me this. They're going to ask for a part 2. And then as well, they're going to click that video and save it into their video bank, right? Because they want to go back to that tutorial later because they want to learn how to do that, or they want to know how to do that trick or tip. They're not going to know it from one time watching it. They're going to watch it multiple times, giving it more views. So it was just strategically learning the algorithm and knowing how to play with it.
Right. And Griffin, what type of content do you post on TikTok that gets the most engagement?
I mean, when I first started, it was obviously my nursing stuff. And then as I went to online and pivoted out of that, a lot of it was collabing. Those always do better, just having two people to do a video together, and the friendship. And I think it's more of like the friendship and the connection and the chemistry. So that's one part. And then for my personal videos, I do a lot of like inside jokes on the app between myself or other creators. And that's definitely my most successful videos, is going on there and making jokes or having fun with other people and myself.
Right. So I'm going to ask Josh one more question before I let the old man come back in and ask his ignorant questions. But Josh, I know you're focused. You talked about evolving your persona, and I know you're focused on investing as well as some of the other things you're doing with Barstool and elsewhere. How did you become interested in investing? It seems like a lot of young people, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic, maybe it's due to boredom or whatever it may be, have gotten really interested in trading and investing. So what areas of investing are you most interested in, and how have you sort of fostered that interest in trading?
Yeah. So for me, it all started about four to 5 months ago, doing just angel investing. But one, I was talking to Michael, my business partner, and trying to find out what is the best thing I can do with my money, right? I'm a young kid. I'm making money right now. Most youth when they get money and they're young, they just spend it right away, right? Like you see that in young stars or young athletes, they get this big check and they spend it all. So I was asking, what do I do that's smart with my money? How do it's just sitting in my bank account. I'm technically losing money by it just sitting in my bank account, right, with inflation and everything. And so we got into the conversation of let's get into angel investing. And it was such a perfect fit, and I enjoyed it so much just because I had been on the opposite end. I'd been the founder before. Like with my energy drink we did this year, Annie Energy, I did those calls where we were going around and trying to raise capital. I did the founders meetings, and it's cool to be on the other side. It's such a great experience to get to watch these founders, see their mistakes, learn from their mistakes so I know how to be a better founder, and then as well see their successes and learn from those. So that's just why I've enjoyed it so much.
The guy's calling my questions ignorant, but he's dressed like Marty McFly's father from Back to the Future.
I dress cool for the TikTok kids. I didn't want them to make fun of me if I wore
seriously, you look like you went to a 1950s thrift store.
I got dinosaurs.
It was in Nuketown, and you bought that thing. It's probably irradiating you. Okay, so Griffin, where do we go from here? Where is Griffin Johnson in 5 years?
It's funny. I just had a talk before this about that. So for me, I have a strong passion for hosting. So I'm currently building that out, and as well as investing and working on building my own companies. So that mesh, keeping myself relevant in the media and pivoting to the mainstream with hosting is one side, and then continuing to invest and
So when you say
build out.
I mean, host something on YouTube, host
Jeopardy
something on a
Jeopardy needs a host.
Hey, I would do Jeopardy. Honestly, I think that would be a lot of fun. But for me, when I say hosting, it's just starting where I am now. I'm involved in working on hosting and gaming and streaming, so tournaments and things, and doing commentary on those. And then also I'm working on building out my own YouTube series right now, where it's more like a ridiculousness style, funny, viral clips. So it fits my brand and my understanding of the internet, and then also building out my hosting portfolio.
What about you, Josh?
Yeah, in 5 years, I hope to be still involved in the entertainment space. I want to pivot my career a little bit more into the sports world, get more involved in that college demographic. That's why why I wanted to do that podcast with Dave Portnoy and do BFFs. So definitely there for the entertainment, and then continuing to grow out my brands and companies. I love being a founder. I want to continue to do that. I want to found companies and then be an angel investor. That's something I see myself doing until I die. So,
do you plan on going to college? I know, Griffin, you're finishing up nursing school, and I don't know if you have any plans to do any nursing, but Josh, is it something where you feel like you already have your path in life, you don't need college, or you plan on going?
I feel like I already have my path. To be honest, I think that the college route is awesome, but it's not awesome for everyone. And I think that as time has, evolved and where we are now in our generation, I think that it's just not the route for everyone as well. I think that there's definitely other routes to go, like the one I went on, and be very successful and very educated, but just not have gone to college.
Yeah. What types of companies as an angel are you most interested in? Is it something that you are interested in investing in addressing climate change? You're investing in digital currencies? You're investing in other tech type of companies? Or what most interests you, Josh? And then we'll go to Griffin.
Yeah, so I think for us, we try to look at where we're most strategic as being, social media creators and people with such a large following and almost an instant customer base, right? We look at a lot of the CPG products because we know we can do so much for them, right? We know that we can go in there, we can invest, but then also acquire advisory shares so that we're already right off the bat getting more for our dollar. And with our following, with our social media platforms, we can promote that product, we can get press for that product, we can move it off the shelf, we can do a meet and greet post-COVID. We can do a meet and greet in the actual store where they're selling it. We can always find ways to get that product off the shelf so well. So I think that's where we try to be as often as we can.
Griffin, in addition to your media companies, what type of stuff interests you?
Yeah. So, Josh kind of gave the lowdown more on our strategy right now. And we definitely do put a lot of money and time into companies that we can directly influence with our following. But for like my own interest, I'm big into, biotech and that kind of space. I want to work with medicine and development of equipment for, medical purpose. So that's one avenue. And then also, I really like getting into, fintech and building out the future. So for me, that's my two go-tos.
Love it. And Griffin, I want to ask you a question about politics again before I turn it back over to Anthony. But I sort of had an aha moment when AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, was on Twitch, and she's on basically all the social media outlets. And she had this massive audience where she was playing a video game while also commenting on the lawmaking process. And she was sort of pulling back the curtain behind a lot of the political world that young people aren't accustomed to hearing people communicate in that way or on those platforms. I just thought about when people like you and Josh are at the age when you could be politically active, not just voting, but potentially running for office, how the world would change. How do you think when your generation, becomes more powerful in society, how do you think it's going to just change the way we go about the political process and the agenda that we pursue?
I think it's even bigger than just politics itself. I preach a lot on my platforms about how people are so influenced by what they see on social media that they don't take the time to digest information and think for themselves. Because it's very easy to see a problem, on TV or see something about an article on the internet about what's going on, and then immediately just hopping on Facebook or whatever to see what other people are saying, and then just hopping in and agreeing and basing your opinions off of, one side of a story or just what someone else shows you or what someone else says. And I think it extends way further on to politics. And I think it's very, it's kind of scary for, how we're developing and moving forward with this, new generation. I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
Anthony.
But I just want to, I'm going to ask you guys a couple of quick rapid fire questions. So sort of yes or no. So
Right.
The social media that you guys are prolific on, will that be a big time in play in politics in the future? Yes or no?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Yeah.
What is, if you think about, and again, short answer, there's something that you would want to impart on your parents' generation or your grandparents' generation about the world you're living in. What is that?
Josh, you want to go ahead first?
Yeah, I think that I'm going to go back to what I was talking on a little bit, is that there are so many more routes than just the original go to college, 9 to 5, have a family, be in debt, pay off mortgage, pay off student loans, and that you got to be accepting and supporting of your kids' dreams. That's what I'd say.
Yeah, I think that's a great message. And another thing that I would want to say is, making sure that I see a lot of people complain because the internet has, brings on a lot of new problems that my parents didn't face or my grandparents, as far as like mental health and those kinds of issues go. So I would just, as a parent, try my best to understand what the kind of like cyberbullying or whatever goes on, and just recognizing that and understanding that the world's a lot more advanced than what it was, 15, 20 years ago.
And how do you deal with cyberbullying?
It's a good one. I have pretty thick skin, but there's always times it can get to you. But for the most part, either A, just ignore it, or, B, you can try to like not necessarily confront because it doesn't get you anywhere, but you can ask them another question. And I've done this before. It's like someone could say like, yo, your hair looks like a Q-tip. And it'd be like, all right, well, okay, well, why do you think that is? And you just got to realize like that a lot of those people are just saying it because either A, attention, or B, because they're insecure about themselves. So you just got to kind of understand that and roll with it.
Oh, Twitter attacks and all these types of attacks in cyberspace is a form of weakness and insecurity for the person obviously attacking. One of the best lines that I've lived by my whole life, which got me through a lot of difficult situations, including getting my ass fired from the White House. Number one, what other people think of you, none of your business. So get it out of your head. So whatever anybody else thinks of you, it's absolutely none of your business. Live your own life. And number two, anybody that's denigrating or criticizing you, they're not spending enough time on themselves. Successful people don't have time for that nonsense. I guarantee you guys are not sitting on the internet. You're so busy and so successful. You're not sitting on the internet looking to troll somebody that you think is good looking or doing better than you or some kind of that nonsense. You know what I mean? Am I wrong?
No, you're correct.
How much time are you guys spending cyberbullying? I mean, I have to bully Trump. I mean, he's off Twitter now, so it's harder to bully him. You know what I mean? Only because, he's hitting everybody else. So he needs a New Yorker to give him a few pops. You know what I mean? But other than him, I don't really focus on anybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that besides calling Griffin a Q-tip, I don't really say much. Like, besides just commenting that Griffin's hair be looking right like a Q-tip all the time. I don't even say
Hey, Griff, I'm going to leave you with one thought, though. I'm just hoping your hair is the only thing that looks like a Q-tip. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm just hoping for. I'm hoping and praying. Okay?
Hey, no worries.
Let me throw it back to you, okay? Because, Darcy's 107. I'm 205 years old. So you ask a few questions. Go ahead. I mean, maybe I know something about life at this point. It's possible, maybe not.
Don't ask Anthony, how you grow up, because he absolutely has not. Just FYI.
No.
My answer: don't fucking grow up. Okay, go to the next one.
I have a question. So, why do you think it is that a lot of the traditional Hollywood and traditional investors and entrepreneurs fail to either get these social media creators involved, or are just uneducated on what's happening? And what do you think stopping? Is it stubbornness and they do know, or is it they just don't care to get educated?
So you guys should look at or Google early adoption curves, early adoption curves, and you should look at the psychology of early adoption. So when the horseless buggy was created, also known as a car, people thought it was ridiculous. They had their horse, they had their carriage, and they saw this little thing motoring by them, and they're like, okay, that is ridiculous. So there was a group of people that got on it in the beginning, and then there was a lagging effect, and then there were more people mainstreaming it, and then there were late adopters, right? But those first people, they looked to the other people weird, right? I can tell you that forever. The talkies, you guys are living in Hollywood. Okay, when Cary Grant, who was a very famous actor in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, before his retirement, he was an A-level actor, the George Clooney of his time. When he left vaudeville, which was sort of this stage performance and silliness, to move to Hollywood. Why did he move to Hollywood? Because they were doing something called the talkies. The talkies were talking in a motion picture. Prior to that, there were silent movies, and people said, talkies? That's a fad. That's never going to catch on. No one's ever going to talk in a movie. Okay, that'll be just an overblown fad. And so the point being, no matter what period of time that you're in, because people are sort of habitual and people do not like change, they don't like accepting that the world is moving underneath their feet. I'll tell you guys a story. If this guy ever watches this Salt Talk, he'll get super mad at me. I have an 85-year-old friend who will not go on email. Okay, so I send him an email. His assistant calls him on a phone from the 1930s, like Alf used the phone in 1990. He's on the phone and she reads him the email. And then he says, okay, write back to Scaramucci the following. And then she types it out for him and sends it to him. He's 85 years old. There are other 85-year-old people that are on TikTok. You guys know that. But the point being is that there are 3 or 4 things that are happening psychologically and sociologically is I made my money this way. I'm old-fashioned. I'm not moving, right? Warren Buffett's 90 years old. He's one of the most successful investors in the world. He thinks Bitcoin's rat poisoning. Then you got Bill Miller, who's 70 years old. He's 20 years younger than Warren Buffett. He's saying, well, Bitcoin may be rat poisoning, but the rat poison may be killing the rat, maybe the fiat currency, maybe the dollar. My point being is that this is where the opportunity is for you guys, is that the world is changing and you're never going to get everybody, but you will be able to open the eyes to early adopters or who people that want to experiment. But I'll say something back to you about generational awareness. Okay. And I always say this to my son, Anthony. There are things from me that you can learn. Sometimes each generation poo-poos the other generation. Like I say, shit, I can't learn anything from Griffin and Josh. They're too young and they don't know anything. And the flip side, Griffin and Josh are saying, well, I can't learn anything from Anthony because, he's an old fogey. He's missed TikTok. He doesn't even know how to log on to TikTok, right? But, Marty McFly's father, AKA John Dorsey, had to let me, he had to open up that kimono on me, right? But my point is, some of that is true, but there's a lot of that false, where we can learn from each other. Like you can actually teach me where the future is going, but I may be able to give you some perspective from the past so that you avoid making some mistakes that or someone with life experience may have made that mistake and they're just trying to guide you not to. Does that make sense?
100%.
Yeah, no, yeah.
I wanted to bring you guys on is that synergy. There's a bridge between us. So we got to learn from each other to make the society better.
Yeah, I think there's a real power there. And a lot of the people that I've met that are, older and successful already, and they're willing to open up. Not only does it mean a lot to me, and I'm sure it does to Josh, but I think that's where the real power is moving forward.
I got a project for Michael Gruen. I know he's watching this Salt Talk. I want Griffin Johnson to be a guest host on Jeopardy. I had this aha moment. They have Aaron Rodgers is guest hosting an episode of Jeopardy. Ken Jennings guest hosted. Alex Trebek obviously passed away. But I think it would be awesome, and it would draw in an entire new audience for one of my favorite shows, Jeopardy, if we had Griffin Johnson hosting Jeopardy. So, Michael, get on it. If you can do that, Michael Gruen, he's got more hustle than almost anybody I've ever seen. So if he can pull that one off, I'll be truly impressed.
I love it.
It's the final test.
You're putting a lot of pressure on him, but the kid is a good kid. Were you with him at Steve Cohen's house Saturday night? Yeah, right?
Yeah, we both were, yeah.
He's a great guy, right? Yeah. New owner of the Mets. He's a very close personal friend of ours. I've known him forever. We've got money with him at Skybridge. He's an awesome guy. So what else, John Dorsey, for these two young, very successful men?
Do you guys like Bitcoin? What's the view of Bitcoin among your peer group? It seems like, obviously it has this grassroots following among younger people. At Skybridge, we recently invested $200 million into it. What are your guys' feelings on Bitcoin and digital assets, that whole space?
Yeah. Well, first of all, we got Michael. So if you guys know about Michael, he's already shoving Bitcoin down our throats every day. But I think that both of us from our conversations are super intrigued by it. Like, it's been something I've watched probably since like the 9th or 10th grade. And I remember trying to get in and buy it when it was at like $400 or like $800, somewhere around that range. And my parents wouldn't let me because they were like, what the hell are you doing buying some internet currency, right?
Yeah, it was
like
hard
they
to
had no
buy
idea.
Yeah,
back then, like that was like a while ago. So anyways, definitely I have some money being put into it every like once in a while. And I think that it'll be big.
Yeah. And just to build on that, one thing, the reason I really like Bitcoin, and this is what, persuaded me to really get involved was, there's around 21 million that are in existence, 19 something million that are out now. And I think there's 45 million, I think, millionaires in the world or something around that. So first off, I mean, there's not enough Bitcoin for the amount of money and the amount of, powerful people. So there's that. Second off, cash is deflating in value by 2% on average every year. So that doesn't help. And it's ran and printed and controlled by humans, which is just flawed. As we all know, humans make mistakes and there's flaws. So I just think, I don't know if Bitcoin is the necessary, I think it'll be one of the answers. I don't know, but there's definitely going to be some kind of blockchain cryptocurrency that definitely takes over for cash at some point.
Couldn't have said it any better myself. Anthony, you have any more wisdom you want to pull out of these young men before we let them go?
What you guys are doing, live in the moment and enjoy what you're doing. And I love the fact that you're both planning for the future. I didn't give you my whole stay off the
weed, Stephen A. Smith.
Well, you got to ask Gruen. I did a Bryce. Is that the kid's name? Bryce Hall or something like that? Do you know?
Yeah.
I did his podcast. I told him his peepe's going to look like this when he's my age if he doesn't stop smoking pot. Okay. So that
is that a for real thing? Is that a real thing?
100%. If you want me to send you the research and literature on it, I will. Okay. I sent it to my son. I sent it to Bryce. This is what happens to your peepee. Don't forget that. Okay. I want a lasting visual for you. Every time you're trying to take a toke of a blunt, I want you to think of my finger looking like this. That's going to be you when you're my age. You just wrecked my night, man. My message for you two is if you want to be strong like Bull, I'm 57 years young. No drugs. Okay, that's my message. You do what you want because you got a lot of peer pressure, but I want you to see that as a visual. Okay. I don't want that.
I don't like that. I don't.
Don't
like
be
that.
shutting off my camera there. Okay. Don't be shutting off my camera.
I don't like that.
Okay, I'm showing you a visual that I want impregnated in your brain forever. Okay. Next time you see me, tell him, your father got on, and then he did a big lecture. You go like this. My son start laughing. Okay. All right. Best of luck to you guys. Okay. I hope I get a chance to meet you when I'm out in LA. Good luck. I'll be following your careers.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure.
It's a pleasure having you guys on, and I guarantee this is going to be like our most viewed Salt Talk by a factor of 10x due to the global superstar of Griffin and Josh. And we got to have, maybe Griffin will have you on now that Josh has his podcast with Portnoy. We'll have you on as like a guest host on Salt Talk. So we'll see who gets better ratings, BFF or Salt Talks guest hosted by Griffin Johnson. So
I don't want to.
We might be in trouble.
I don't want to hurt your guys' feelings. Yeah, I don't want you guys to feel bad.
All right, but
I'm already feeling bad. There's nothing you can do to stop that feeling.
Anthony's no El Presidente, but he tries, But anyways, guys, thanks for joining us, and we look forward to it. We'll have you guys at one of our in-person conferences and have a little fun. We'll bring our age demographic down by about 60 years. It typically come to our SALT conference. So we'll look forward to that. And I guess we'll let Gruen tag along as well. But thanks for joining us. And thank you to everybody who tuned in to today's SALT Talk. We love exposing new ideas to our audience. Earlier this week, we had a conversation about psychedelics and their use in medical treatments. We talk about things like Bitcoin and digital assets, and love exposing our older demographic, if you will, to what's going on in the social media influencing space. So thanks everybody who tuned in. Please follow us on social media. We're on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. We should probably get on TikTok and step up our game and get these young men to help us grow our following there. And tell your friends about Salt Talks. These are conversations that we look to educate people on a variety of issues. We love growing our audience with different types of people. We've been able to do that in the pandemic through these Salt Talks as opposed to focusing on our in-person conferences. So that's been a lot of fun. But on behalf of the entire SALT team, this is John Darcy signing off for today. We'll see you back here again soon on SALT Talks.